Good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our March book club. Today we have author Rysa Walker with us, and as we're reading her first book, Time Bound. Thank you for joining us, Rysa.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And we also have our Tempus fugitive member, Philippe, charging. So we'll be doing this interview together. Thanks for joining me and us today, Philippe.
I'm very happy to be here to talk to Rysa.
Rysa, what part of the world are you from?
Originally, I'm from Florida in the United States, and I've lived in I think maybe 7 different states, and currently I'm in North Carolina.
Very good, because I'm in Estonia, and Philippe, you are also in the States right now, right?
I am, yes. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Ah, I used to live in Ohio, up in Mansfield.
Oh, yeah? Oh, you got out, so that's
yes,
good.
Yes, I did. My teenage son was determined that I was going to get out, so.
Okay, Philippe, I know that you had many questions for Rysa that you were eager to ask her, so go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. And we can probably spend hours talking, but I wanted to, and you probably get this question a lot, but I'm really interested in what inspired you to write your first book. What was that catalyst to make you just sit down and do it?
Well, there was kind of a mixture of things going on. The first, I have always written in some form, but it had mostly been academic writing. I taught political science and history for about a decade. And before that, I had worked in writing some theater for a military, I'm losing my words, a community theater on a military post, and we did plays on social issues and alcohol abuse, things like that. So I had always been writing in some sense. And I noticed in the history classes that I was teaching that a lot of people came in there already hating history. They'd already decided it was a really boring subject before they ever made it to my class. And I found that kind of depressing. I tried to fix that by giving them all of the little quirky anecdotes, the odd things that happen in history. And usually they perked up a little bit, but it occurred to me that it might be kind of nice to catch them before they decided history was boring. And so I started writing what was then Time's Twisted Arrow when I originally wrote it. And originally I was aiming at a younger audience, and then I realized I'm not a middle grade writer. I'm more of an adult in YA. And finally I got aggravated at the college I was teaching for, and decided to take some time off and just finish the book, and ended up self-publishing it. And then I entered it in the Amazon Breakthrough Novel Awards, and it won. So that was great, because it made it so that I could write full time.
Well, we're very happy that happened, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you were teaching. So was the teaching position the reason that you chose to write for young adults?
No, I was teaching college. So I was mostly teaching people. Actually, I was teaching mostly adult learners. So they were in their 30s and 40s coming back to college, because at the last university I was at, I was teaching online mostly. A lot of military students and people who work during the day and were taking classes at night. Young adult was mostly so I could catch them before they started hating history.
Okay. Because I read a lot to young adult, actually. I do believe that there are many authors who are able to talk about important
Hold on a second. I'm doing an interview.
Oh. I'm sorry, I thought you were watching.
No.
Okay, sorry. You should have told me beforehand. I didn't realize.
Go. Okay. Sorry about that.
That in young adults book, there's often many important subjects that the author talks about really well, and sometimes even better than the books that they write for the adults, I think. And as I'm a librarian at a school also, I think it's important for me to know to read different age group, so I can recommend books for the young people and children who come there. So it's but it's so good to see good young adult books, because not everything that we can find on Amazon or even bookstores are good.
Thank you
for that.
I was reading a lot of young adult books whenever I started writing Time Bound, because the guy you heard right there yelling up at me was a budding young adult reader at that point, and so was his younger brother. And so I was doing a lot of pre-reading to see what stuff was, good for them, and also so we could discuss it. So whatever topics were in there that they wanted to discuss, and I think that's what kind of tipped it over to make me decide to do young adult as opposed to middle grades as well.
Mm-hmm. So, who is your favorite author, and what is it that really strikes you about their work?
I'm a Stephen King fan. I have been since I was like 11 years old, and I read my first Stephen King book. And I think what I like best about his writing is his characters and his dialogue. His work is very character driven, and I think his stuff resonates with me because we kind of have a similar writing method. He puts characters in a situation, at least this is what he said he does. He puts them in a situation and then sees what happens. And that's exactly how I write. Things are not plotted from the beginning for me. I rarely know exactly how a book is going to end. And sometimes I don't even know who's going to live and die. So I think that's why his work kind of resonates with me.
Okay, Philippe, do you have a question?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've done a couple of author interviews, and every one of them said Stephen King. So he's such a big influence on everybody.
And I think that's partly because of his book on writing as well, which is his, that in Danse Macabre were two of his attempts to kind of break down the process of writing and the genre as well. And he's covered so many different genres too. So
he has, yeah, absolutely. Okay, it sort of dovetails with my next question. I'm always curious as to what authors are actually reading. So what are you currently reading, and how much do you actually read? How much time do you set aside to read other people's books?
I set aside a lot of time to listen these days because I have some issues with my eyes, and the amount of time I spend using my eyes needs to be on what I'm writing usually. So I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. Occasionally I'll just say the heck with it and decide to sit down and read the old fashioned way. But right now I'm listening to Noor by Nettie, and I'm going to mangle her last name, Okaforo, I believe is her last name. And also The Raven Spell, I think is the name of it, by Luann Smith.
Okay. Interesting.
Talking about authors, if you could have dinner with one author, either dead or alive, who would that be?
Well, you might think it would be Stephen King, but the one time I met him, I stumbled over my words so badly, stuck my foot in my mouth. He walked away looking like I was an insane person. I don't think I want to ever do that again. I'm sure that happens to him all the time, and he wouldn't remember it at all. But I think maybe it would be Shirley Jackson. She was odd and quirky and very much a feminist for her era. And I mean, I might have to worry about her playing mind games with me or possibly poisoning my stew, but not be a boring dinner at any rate. So, and her books, I mean, her short stories too, The Lottery, but also We Have Always Lived in the Castle was one of my favorites growing up. So yeah, I think it would have to be Shirley Jackson.
Okay, I have an additional questions. You talked about the genres that you like and the authors that you like, but are there any genres that you don't want to read at any cost?
I don't really like slice of life books. The ones, I mean, mostly I like speculative fiction. Mysteries are fine, but even the mysteries I like, and the mysteries I write for that matter, tend to have a little bit of the supernatural or something like that going on. It's basically the same for me as it is with reality TV. If it can happen in my backyard, or if it, even though reality TV isn't real, and I know that, it's just, I find it boring. And I tend to find books that are extremely descriptive and don't have a lot of anything going on with the characters. I tend to find those a little boring. Westerns, I grew tired of because my grandmother loved them. And so, and Harlequin romances were the other ones, Barbara Cartland. I would leave her house with a stack of books, but it was always Westerns and Barbara Cartlands. And those weren't really what I wanted to read.
Good. Philippe?
Yes, so I'm also very interested to know if you have any sort of habits that is a must-have when you're writing. Do you have to have your favorite snack, or do you wear your lucky pants or something? Is there anything that you need to do to feel comfortable to write?
Coffee, absolutely. I drink a lot of coffee, and usually late at night it's either wine or a little bit of bourbon too, to kind of get the head in the right spot, kind of to balance out the coffee. I think I'm clearly adult ADD, and I have to self-medicate with with my various chemicals to get the right place. So.
That's great, thank you.
So if you had to do it all over again, would you change anything in any of your books? And
there's always a word or two. I cannot read the print versions of my books after they're in print. I can't read them with my eyes because I always find some word that I would change, some little thing. I listen to them because the audiobooks that bring an entirely new dimension to it. And Kate Rudd has done most of my books, and she's incredible. So I usually listen to them, but I can't actually read them. In terms of like major plot things I would change, the only thing I would say, and maybe this would be bad in a way, usually by the second or third book in one of my time travel trilogies, I'm cursing myself for not simplifying things because I've got so many different threads flying and I'm trying to pull them back together. And that's usually when I have my panic attack and I'm sitting in the corner going, I can't do it. I can't do it. And my husband's saying, and yes, you can. You'll finish it. You always do. But then again, if I simplified it, would people like them as much? I don't know. I really don't think there's anything major that I would change.
Mm-hmm. But in your writing, sorry, you wanted to?
Go ahead. Okay.
In your writing process, you described how many different timelines there are, and it's difficult sometimes to put those together. And as in this group, we're reading time travel books, and some of us are also part of Nathan's beta readers. So we know how it can go, and we give him feedback sometimes that, okay, we can't follow, please do something, So do you have any people like that who would go over your first drafts and help you with those issues?
Yes, I have a trusted beta group that I've been using. Some of them have been with me since Timebound, and well, not since Timebound, excuse me, since Time's Edge. So they came on board for the second one. The first one, it was mostly my youngest son was who was like 9 at the time, was my first beta reader. And my husband gives me a lot of feedback as well, especially like the series I'm working on now is kind of stretching things a little bit for me because I'm not strong in the science department. He is, and this one has a lot more science than my other stuff.
Okay, good. Philippe?
Yeah, being a history buff and having taught history, if you were to pick a period in history where you'd say, okay, I could get stranded here and live here for the rest of my life, what period and what place would that be?
Oh boy, that's tough. Yeah, there are lots of places I would want to visit. As far as one that I would be happy to stay in, I wouldn't go back very far because I don't like women's rights if you go back very far. So if I'm stuck in this body, I'm probably gonna, go back maybe. I might go back 10 or 15 years and see if I could change a few things. But aside from that, I won't get into what I would change, but I might go back a few years.
For me, I think the main requirement is it has to be a period where coffee is available.
Oh, yes. That's a must.
Okay.
Thank you.
So talking about time bound, it's a young adult novel. Who do you usually get feedback from, from readers? Yes, from adults or young people, or do you know?
Most of my readers have been adults. And I think part of that is because of it having been published within the Amazon ecosystem and it being a Kindle First selection. Adults are the ones who pick that. And a lot of adults read YA. So I would say probably the average age of my readers is probably around 35. But it varies a lot depending on the language too, because the Brazilian translation, apparently they've marketed really well to teens, because when I get emails and Twitter and various communication from them, it's usually teenagers there.
How much do you usually communicate with your readers, and how do you do that?
Quite a bit. I do send out a newsletter. I'm not very good at that, though. I only do it like 3-4 times a year if I really have something to send out or to notify them about. I have a group I call my Chronos Repo Agents, which is my beta team, but also just other readers who, like, if I want to show them covers and things like that to get feedback. And then I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. I'm not on TikTok yet, and I don't want to have to learn anymore. And I don't do much on Instagram, but I'm pretty involved with my readers, but it's not always about books. I mean, I used to teach politics as well as history, so sometimes I can be very political on. So if somebody doesn't want my politics, they can go to Facebook, Rysa Walker Books. Don't go to my personal site. Otherwise, you're going to see politics.
Okay.
We won't get into politics, but I do have another question. How do you go about picking names for your characters?
It really depends. If it's like a minor character, that's going to be the random name generator, and I'll just click through online until I find a combination I like. For main characters, it can change a lot. I'll try on names and see if they work. Kate was always Kate. I don't know why, she just was. I think maybe that was because I never had a daughter, but if I'd had a daughter, I probably would have named her Kate.
Okay.
Other names, I've had characters that halfway through a book, main characters, not the main character usually, but major characters that I would change their name because it just didn't fit them. And sometimes they don't usually have any great meaning, but if it doesn't, roll off my tongue, I'll end up changing it for something else.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Well, talking about Kate, one thing that was, I like the way that you did the technology. the medallion and things, you know, popping up, and she could choose things. But the interesting love triangle was something that was a bit, you know, unbelievable for me. Maybe I'm too old for that, you know. Maybe it really goes like this for teenagers. But and Kate herself says in the book that she had never been kissed, and then in a one day she was kissed by two strange boys, basically.
It was odd for her, yes. I think love triangles and the notion people refer to it as insta love. It really was not insta love for Kate and Trey. I'm going to object to that, even though people will say it. Happens quickly in the book, but there's like a 4-month period there. And I remember enough about before they are really involved. There's a long period because she's training with the key and he's coming by on a regular basis. And yes, they're attracted. And yes, but that happens quick for most teenagers. It's not necessarily something that's going to last forever, but most teenagers, they meet somebody and they are convinced that they're in love, and they may even be convinced that it's going to last forever. I think once we get a little older, we forget that. And I was kind of watching, you know, nieces go through the same sort of thing, and just the heartbreak. And one reason I actually have the love, it's a purposeful love triangle I have in there. And that's one thing that ended the way it ended for a reason. Mm-hmm. I have seen so many young people, particularly young girls, who think that when the relationship is over, they're never going to love again. They're heartbroken. This is it. He was the one. And I personally believe that you can be happy with a number of different people if the circumstances are different. And I wanted to give a situation where Kate actually was happy with two different people in different circumstances. Mm-hmm. So the love triangle's on purpose, even though some people don't like them. The love triangle's on purpose.
Okay, very good. Because I was wondering how it would turn out right from the start when she met Kiernan first, and then Trey came along. So yeah, good. So
I like how you describe the fair, and you know, it's a period in history that often makes it into books, because I think it was such a special you know, occurrence at the time, and even now. But you described it so well that it really made me want to be there. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I had a lot of help with that. For one thing, I had done multimedia modules for the history course that I taught on the Progressive era, and I did one on the fair, and I pulled in a number of different historic, and there is I'm trying to think how to explain it. It's like it's not really animated. It's more of a computer simulation of the fair that was done like an urban planning. It's at the back of Time Bound in the notes there. I have a link to it. I think it's still active, but it was wonderful because I actually felt like I was walking through the fair. The gondola rides, all of those kind of things were, and I mean, there's a serial killer walking around there too. I mean, it just kind of brings the whole thing to life. So I felt like I was there. Maybe that's why it came across as fairly vivid.
Well, yeah, that was really enjoyable for me. So talking about visuals and animation and so forth, if you were to get this made into a TV show or a movie, have you given any thought as to who you would like the main characters to be casted by?
Well, I've had several different times where I've been working with people on this, and by the time anything happens, the people I picked have aged out and they're too old to play any of the characters, and that'll happen again probably. Haley Steinfeld, I think, would be an excellent Kate. Kiernan Shipka, oddly enough, would also be an excellent Kate. And what's the other? McKenna Grace, I think is her name. She was on I'm blanking. Never mind. McKenna Grace, that's her name. Yeah, okay. She would be good as long as they were willing to, put on a curly black wig, because I think both of them are blondes. And as far as other characters, I would love to see Jamie Lee Curtis playing Catherine. She'd be perfect. And as far as the guys, they've all aged out on me. Back when I was originally imagining Trey, he was like a younger Jensen Ackles from Supernatural. And Kiernan, I think Logan Lerman would probably be good out of the current batch that's about the right age.
Okay. Interesting. That's great. Well, let's hope that you do actually get somebody who pays you a lot of money to turn this into a TV show.
Well, I'm working with someone, but we'll see if they actually manage to get anything going. So
good luck. Good luck with that.
Okay, I'll be right back to the questions about the book, but a little side question. We were chatting earlier, and you said that when you read, you don't have like mental images in your head. But what about when you write? Do you get like a picture about what your characters are doing and where they're going, or how?
It's kind of hard to explain, because it's one of the reasons I usually write as in first person is because I walk through that person's, I see what they're seeing. I am visual in that sense. When I'm reading, it's not so much a picture, it's more the words. But when I'm writing, I'm very much in the moment. I tried recently doing something third person past, and I just threw up my hands and said, no, if I don't write this first person present, I'm not writing it, because that's what it needed to be. So.
It's interesting that your mind works like in different ways when you read or when you write. But in the book, you have let the bad guy invent a new religious order with plans to take control over the nation. So did you have, like, where did this thought come from? Did you have any hesitations about that? Because basically you might have taken a risk to offend many people with that.
Usually, oddly enough, it's usually they don't, even the people who I would say are in an extreme religion, they never think that way. It's always, they view it as being some other religion. I have had some people ask me if it was a specific religion. It really wasn't, but I really do think that is what someone might do if they wanted to mold history in their own image, if they wanted to make history into what they wanted it to be. I grew up in a very fundamentalist Christian environment, and I saw religion being used for good and for ill. I definitely saw it being used to further racism. I saw it being used to further sexism, homophobia, and I don't like that side of it. But the main thing that I see as being a dangerous trend with religions is this notion of taking a religion like Christianity and forgetting all of the social justice elements of Christianity and merging it with Ayn Rand's philosophy of basically, I've got mine, the rest of you can all kiss off. And that is very much a tenet of a lot of mainstream religions in the US and I think around the world. And if that scared people away from my books, it scared people away from my books. I am not anti-religion by any means. I think there are, I am not particularly religious myself. I'm Unitarian with maybe Buddhist overtones. I don't know, more Eastern religion than I used to be. But I have great respect for many Christians, for many people of other religions. And I know it can be used for good, but I have also seen a lot of it used for bad. And I think somebody coming back wanting to take over the world would probably at least have religion in their toolkit. I mean, that's certainly how it works here in the US.
Okay, our time is coming to an end soon. Philippe, do you have any final questions for Rysa?
Maybe just one. Is there anything that, if you had a chance to do it again, that you would change in any of your books?
No, I don't really think I would change anything. I think I probably would stick pretty much with what I've got. I might, if I had to, there are some marketing things that I would possibly change. I might keep my the mysteries that I write under an entirely separate pen name instead of under a slightly different pen name. Those kinds of things, but
okay.
Large plot changes, anything like that, no, I wouldn't change anything.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rysa, so much for joining us, and it's been wonderful to talk to you.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you.
Yes. We will have our book club discussion next week, I believe. No, not next week. I think the last week of March anyway. So you are welcome to pop by and see what your readers think about time bound. So I think we'll have a wonderful discussion. And thank you for joining me and helping me out today. So you have a new day starting. So have a good day, and I hope to see you soon.
I'm heading to bed because I write at night, so I'm about to go to sleep.
So you have a good sleep in the day during the time. Okay, thank you so much again, and I see you.
Okay,
thank you. Bye-bye.